get ready to podcast. Well, guess who's back? Didn't think I was going to do this again. Maybe never, but here I am again. It's been a while. It seems like every time I think I'm not going to do this, there's always someone that tells me, hey, when are you going to make another video? Or, hey, I listen to your videos. Or you hear a random person, someone from the family, oh yeah, this person said he listened to your videos. Like, really? Haven't really put anything out there, or not much that's not political. But the whole purpose was like, should I make videos aimed towards my community, more towards like the youth in my community, in my church? That's kind of what I felt like doing. So obviously with the political climate, I've gone more into politics than anything else, but that is not where I want to be in having a podcast. I want to be able to have a podcast, talk about anything, I want. The goal is to have a weekly format where I make a podcast, talk about current events, and if I do talk about politics, I'm going to have someone else, you could say, bring you the political news, let that person vent and get everything off their chest, section isolated on itself about politics, and after that, do some social media surfing. So the first subject that I wanted to get at, it's been already some time has passed since the untimely death of Terry Bollea, or as everyone might know him as Hulk Hogan. So Hulk Hogan passed away at the ripe old age of 71. But if you knew about Hulk Hogan's life, his injuries, everything he's gone through, it's not really surprising that his body gave out, or his heart gave out at 71. The Hulk Hogan thing is very conflicting for a fan like myself. Because growing up, I was a Hulk Hogan fan. I remember in the 5th grade, I even had a folder of Hulk Hogan flexing without a shirt. And even then, at that young age of, 10 years old, I thought it was a little bit odd to have a folder of a guy without a shirt. But being who he was, being like an American hero, I thought it was justified. Hulk Hogan is a household name. He's this larger than life symbol of like courage. He had the charisma. He was just like over the top, this American made, and always doing what is good. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins. He represented what was like the whole American spirit, that never give up, being the underdog, like never say die, always have that potential to overcome. So I grew up seeing him in WrestleManias, and I would jump up and down as a kid, seeing him Hulk up, how it's called. His theme song was my favorite song. He would come out with the American flag. So he just presented everything like a childhood hero, an American childhood hero. So Hulk Hogan to me was always like the number one wrestler. He was the Michael Jordan, the Mike Tyson of his sport. There's a lot of close names, but he was number one. So when the news of his death came, I honestly expected a little bit more sorrow than what I felt. I wasn't expecting the conflicting emotions that I have, because in recent years, as you may know, Hulk Hogan, he became a huge Trump supporter. And I knew that he voted for him in 2016. And I had a cap and a t-shirt of Hulkamania. And I thought of burning it and putting it on the internet. Like, I didn't care. I kind of gave him a pass. Like, the years that followed, he wasn't like coming out on TV and being such a staunch Trump supporter. But last year was difficult to watch. If you remember, he came out on the Republican National Convention and he aligned himself with what is pretty much the antithesis of the American hero, which was Trump. So me, as a staunch opponent of everything that Trump represents, MAGA, the racism, the authoritarian posturing that's masquerading as patriotism, it was painful to watch him, Hulk Hogan, rip his shirt and say these words that I didn't forget. He said, when they try to kill my hero. My hero. So here is Hulk Hogan, and a real American hero to some people, calling somebody who's aligned himself with such a aligning himself with his political figure who's been on record saying very lewd things about females and pretty much being found liable for sexual assault. Like, whether you believe it or not, he was found pretty much guilty in court. It wasn't a political attack because he could have been found guilty of a lot more stuff, but it's been on record. His own people, his own attorney, he paid to have sex with a porn star. He's sexualized younger females. Paris Hilton, when she was 12 years old, he said he met her when she was 12 years old, and that when she walked into the room, he said, "Wow, who is that?" So, I mean, obviously the reasons go on, but to call somebody such a controversial figure that's been in such muddy waters, to call him your hero? No, man. Honestly, when he did that, I was like, my support for Hogan, out. Done. Dead. So we didn't need to see that. There was a lot of racism in his past, and then aligning himself with such a controversial racist figure like Donald Trump. Honestly, to me, he was dead. But at the same time, it's like, okay, he just died.
If he dies, he dies.
That happened. You start seeing the tribute videos now. Now you don't have to wait for a sports network to make a tribute video. Now there's people on social media that make pretty good tribute videos. And once you start seeing that, it's like you're not seeing Terry Bollea, the racist Trump supporter. You're seeing Hulk Hogan, your childhood hero. Started mourning his death a little bit more as the days transpired. Everyone's human. I'm not going to sit here and excuse his racism. In memory of Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, you kind of have to live with that conflict of what he was or what he became, and him aligning himself with the MAGA movement, which is difficult, but it's something like you have to kind of accept and take as a wrestling fan and as a Hulk Hogan fan. As for me, someone who was against his political affiliation, I would still say, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan, and thanks for the memories. Some of you might know that Sydney Sweeney was on the news for a controversial ad that she made with American Eagle just this past month, I think a few weeks ago. So they launched this like a denim campaign with Sydney Sweeney. It says Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And I think they correct the genes with GENES to genes like the pants you wear. And then it says genes are passed down from parent to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, even eye color. She says, my genes are blue. American Eagle said that, it was a clever, provocative thing. So, but why did this make news? So for those that may not know, they link great genes is a pun. It's kind of like a dog whistle for white supremacy, because that's something that Hitler and white supremacists believed in, that it was just good genes. Contrary to that, immigrants, they see them as criminals. They say it's in their genes to be bad, to be criminals. That's what the whole thing was, that Sydney Sweeney's blonde hair, blue eyes, and they're saying that it runs in their genes because she has good genes. And that's what, the Aryan blood, that's what white supremacist mentality was, that the blonde hair and blue eyes. And if you look at stories about Nazi Germany, they had hospitals where they would try to breed blonde and blue-eyed people, impregnating underage girls, under 18. So then you have an ad, and with this political climate and the society right now, with the word white supremacists and Nazis being thrown around so much, American Eagle knew what they were doing. They wanted that controversy. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So I think that's what they went by. So it wasn't a big deal. It was not a big deal. But that's why Sydney Sweeney, I think she came out in tears talking about something. She probably didn't know it at the time. Honestly, she seems like a dingbat. That's my assumption of her. I don't think she meant it to be, oh yeah, I'm a white supremacist. But then it didn't help her cause when they revealed that she voted Republican, or she is a Republican. Right away, the right gets it and says, hey, Democrats hate beautiful girls. Like, no, dude, no one cares that much. You guys remember Edward Correstein? Correstein or Correstein? He was that young Doge guy that worked for Musk that went by the nickname online as Big Balls, right? He worked for Musk. This story doesn't help his cause. So Correstein's grandfather was a KGB agent. In case you don't know what the KGB is, they're the CIA of Russia. But that was his grandfather, and he was executed for being a double spy. So that's kind of weird. That led to his grandmother fleeing and coming here to the States. So I guess you could say it's a gift that keeps on giving from the KGB. They sent us that little douchebag who became part of Doge and started working for Musk. So thanks, Russia, for giving us that toddler henchman of Musk to get all of our information. And the scary thing about this guy was that he was fired from his previous job for leaking information to their competitors. And when he was fired, he was still boasting online that he still had access to that company. This is the guy that the government handed all of our personal information to. A 19-year-old that had already been proven to leak information and leak sensitive data. And that's the guy who was calling and going into departments and government agencies, taking computers and hard drives and requesting not only access to the data, but access to be able to edit the data that the government has on each and every one of us. Why would any of us, any American, feel comfortable giving our data to a squirt like that who's been accused of leaking sensitive information, whose grandfather was a KGB agent? About less than a week ago, he got his ass kicked by supposedly two 15-year-olds. And here's a picture of him. I'll put it up. That's Correstein. He was left a bloody mess. Where? In Washington, D.C. So he was left beaten and bloody by two teenagers. And then, of course, Trump sends out a tweet that the crime has to stop and he's going to federalize it if it doesn't stop. So that was the excuse that he needed, right? Because they beat up one of his supporters, we have to federalize. We have to declare martial law in the whole city. But if you think about it, sitting Democratic lawmakers were assassinated by a right-winger. And before it came out in the news, Trump said, there's no room for violence in America. Then it came out to the light that he was a Trump supporter, that he was against LGBT, and he hated everybody that supported abortions. Once we knew who committed those assassinations, not a peep from Trump, not a peep from the president. But if you beat up one of his supporters, a 20-year-old little douchebag, damn, call the military. We got to federalize this. In fact, Trump went golfing that day during the funeral when Biden and Kamala and Tim Walz were paying their respects. Like, he didn't even bother to at least try to hide it from the spotlight during that time of mourning. He simply didn't give an F because he sees Democrats like evil. He doesn't care if they die. He doesn't care if there's political violence for him. He only cares if there's political violence against him. Federalize DC, you say? That sounds like a political topic, and let's not get into politics. I'm going to have my associate give you the rundown on politics. Welcome, everybody. This is your lead correspondent of your political news that you need, and I'm going to bring you the facts. That's for you to stay away from Fox and listen to the facts. Let's get started with the top stories in politics. So we have the crime wave that is not in Washington, D.C. The lowest crime rate in 5 years. No. The lowest crime rate in 10. Oh, wait. Facts, right? You want the facts? The lowest crime rate in 30 years in Washington, D.C. Seems like people are walking around just fine without fear. The pigeons are returning to their parks. But yet, the president, Donald Trump, decides it was a perfect time in history, in the month, whatever, to send 800 National Guard troops into the city and take over the local police. So now it's troops, it's National Guard, it's federal dudes walking around with nothing to do. They're there to crack down on lawlessness. But maybe they didn't get the memo, or actually he did, because just in May, he said that the crime rate was down.
Crime is down in Washington, D.C. Street crime, violent crime by 25%. And people have seen, they've noticed a big difference. So in this short period of time that he's been there, crime is down 25% in Washington, D.C.
So it must have shot up in 2 months in D.C., even though there's no reported crime. Oh, it must be those job numbers again. Same guy who did the job numbers, maybe he's doing the crime numbers now. Unprecedented, yes. Uncalled for, 100%. It's like there's a lemonade stand in the neighborhood, and they call in the SWAT team, just in case someone might jaywalk on their way to get a lemonade. That's how crazy this is, to have this happening in DC. He's already done it in LA, he's doing it in DC. Now he wants to do it in New York, in Chicago, in the major cities of democratic states. Of course, they're going to say it's about keeping the streets safe, even though they're already safe. But we all know it's about flexing that power. It's the trial run. It's to declare martial law in case he's projected to lose the midterms, because then they're going to lose the power in 2026, which is why they're redistricting Texas to gain more seats for themselves. So an exaggeration and a power grab and a step in the right direction to dictatorship, that's all that is. Would you send the Marines if you heard noise next door? If it turned out to be a mouse that's making that noise, would it make sense for the Marines to still go into their apartment complex? So speaking of power grab and gerrymandering, maybe now you know that term, because before a lot of people didn't know that term. But pretty much this has been a very disturbing, brazen attempt by the Republican Party. I have to check, make sure I'm not going decibels in red, because I need to calm down, because I see the volume is already going in red right there. Texas Republicans propose new maps, districting maps, to gain 5 more seats because they know they're going to lose the 2026 midterms at this rate. They say that they're not going to lose because of their policies. But if their policies were really popular or favorable to the American country, to this country, why would they be trying to grab more seats to not lose? That's because their policies are not, and never have been, popular or favorable to U.S. citizens. Let's not forget, after the first point that I made about the federalizing D.C., let's not forget it's a distraction of what? The Epstein Files. They're sending the FBI to find the Democrats that flew the coop from Texas to avoid quorum and not get gerrymandered. There was a bomb threat in one of their hotels. So, yeah, we're going into political violence, more dictatorship type stuff where the opposing party are going to have to fear for their lives. That's what's going to happen. And if you kept up with Newsom from California, my governor, he is going toe-to-toe with Trump, fighting fire with fire. That's what we need more from the Democratic Party. That's what has to happen. New York has entered the chat, and I think now Massachusetts. So if he doesn't call off that gerrymandering request to Texas, it's going to be we know what's happening behind closed doors and behind the curtains. There's an internal civil war, and it's escalating every week. Only 6 months in, and we have this crazy. Speaking of dictatorship and authoritarian, what an authoritarian move to suppress facts, right? And punishing by firing the labor statistics secretary. So they recorrected the jobs numbers. The growth wasn't where they had said.
Erica McIntarfer, who Mr. Trump says, without evidence, isn't reporting accurate numbers. McIntarfer not commenting. It comes after the Labor Department reported fewer jobs than expected were added in July, while also revising down by 258,000 the number of jobs created in June and May.
And now that they corrected the numbers, you know what? I don't like those. Those are fake numbers. Let's make my crowd, my MAGA fanatics believe whatever I'm going to say. So, shoot. Fire her. Let me put somebody who's willing to say whatever I want to say. Print out some charts. Show the charts. So you know, because this is facts and not Fox, Trump abruptly fired the U.S. Labor Secretary. Everything that doesn't favor him is fake news. He claimed that the data was rigged, of course, misrepresenting the job losses to harm him politically. Can't make this stuff up, but that's what's going on right now. So it's like if we live in a land of make-believe right now. Hey, look, you got a bad report card. You got F's. No, I didn't. Give me that Sharpie. Hold on. Oh, look at that. I got straight A's. Oh, but the records, no, I got straight A's. And I'm going to show everybody that I got straight A's. Even though the record books that I'm going to close, that I'm not going to let anybody see, are going to say that I have F's and D's on my report card. I don't like it, so I'm just going to change it. That's the toddler mindset that we have right now in the Oval Office. And all this coincides with Project 2025, purging the federal government, getting rid of anybody who ever spoke against Trump, anybody who was ever involved in a case against Trump, anybody who is not loyal, willing to lie, bend over backwards, lick the boot, anybody who's not going to do that is going to get ousted. They've already got rid of climate change data. What else? Oh, and let's not forget, it's a distraction from the Epstein Files. So where does MAGA go from here? I'm kind of curious. In February, the Epstein Files were on Pam Bondi's desk. Then they weren't. Then it was a hoax by the Democrats. Even though Epstein was arrested under Trump's presidency in 2019, he committed suicide under Trump's presidency. They released a video of the jail cell, and there's missing minutes. He was informed by the Department of Justice in May that his name comes out. The Democrats put his name in there. But the Epstein Files don't exist. It was all a hoax. Which one is it? What lie do you guys hold on to? What lie do you gravitate to? Oh, this one makes more sense. If he's not on the Epstein Files, wouldn't it make sense to release the Epstein Files to prove that he's not a pedophile? No, that makes too much sense. No, we can't have that. That's too much critical thinking for MAGA world. You don't want to do that. And we've seen story after story. Look at this over here. Hey, look at this over here. No, don't look that way. That's the Epstein Files. Look at this right here. Look at that. I'm going after Jack Smith and the Clintons. I'm sending out subpoenas like if there were love letters to Epstein. Opening up investigations against only Democrats, huh? They're ignoring the Republicans that are linked in the Epstein Files. Here's one. But why didn't Biden release the Epstein Files if it had dirt on Trump? One could say, I don't know. Why didn't he? He should have. Or those Epstein Files were sealed until December 2024 by a judge. And I don't remember Biden and his administration running on releasing the Epstein Files and getting his political opponent and getting the opposing party. We're going to get them all, and they're going to they're going to get convicted and we're going to do it with all these pedophiles. He didn't run on that. He ran on bringing America back, on restoring the soul of the nation, which he tried, and he failed because MAGA is still here. So Biden not releasing the Epstein Files, what does that change about Trump having it and being able to release it and not wanting to release it? There's nothing. Like, there's literally nothing a Trump supporter could say right now that justifies anything in regards to hiding the Epstein Files. Like, this is the biggest cover-up of the century because it has to do with what it has to do with child porn. And it has to do with so much evidence, to the point where Don Bongino, that other right-wing podcaster given a high job, was going to quit until Trump called him and maybe offered him something, but still came out and said he's never going to be the same after what he saw. Maybe that translates to, I'm never going to be the same after learning my president is a pedophile. It is what it is. Prove it wrong. You have so many tendencies talking about you're going to date, you're going to be dating a 10-year-old in 10 years who looks at a little girl and even thinks that. PEDO, maybe? Who brags about walking into dressing rooms of a pageant while they're changing. And some were confirmed to be underage, under 18. Who does that? Are we forgetting also that he admitted that one of the most notorious Epstein victims, Virginia Giuffre, that committed suicide this year, was working for Trump in his spa? And he was more angry, saying Epstein did bad, shady stuff to him because he was stealing his workers. Notice how he didn't say Epstein was a very bad guy because he was a child predator, a sexual abuser, a child molester, a rapist. He didn't say that. He said, and I had to cut ties with him because he was stealing my workers. That's the worst. That's the worst thing that he did. Steal your employees. It wasn't the child rape. No, it wasn't that. It was stealing your employees. Before I depart, I do want to suggest downloading the app Groundbreaking News, or what's it called? Ground News. It tells you what side, what political party, what news they're not reporting on, a blind spot. And it gives you articles of both left and right leaning, so you can look and compare the headlines and the verbiage of how they try to sway you. So that's really good one. Is anything cheaper? I want to talk to all the MAGA folks. I want to talk to all the, this is what we voted for. Hello, where are you? What exactly did you vote for? Tell me. Higher prices? Oh, gas went down like 20 cents, right? Victory. Economic uncertainty, small businesses crumbling, farmlands filing for bankruptcy, grocery prices still high. Oh, it must have been all those ICE raids that you said were not going to happen. All those undocumented temporary protected status that were not going to get rejected. Oh, I guess we're wrong there. They already got rejected. Concentration camps, no. No, he just talks like a dictator. He's not a dictator. Oh, what's that? We have already concentration camps. There's Alligator Alcatraz. They even floated around the actual Alcatraz in San Francisco until they realized it'll cost more money to renovate the original Alcatraz than to build a new one. Because everything there is old. All the pipes, everything is completely, nothing is useful there. What about all this did you vote for? Small government? No. There's no small government. Federalizing everything. Sending his troops, his people to take over everything. What is he leaving up to the states? Abortion? Oh, Republicans are not big on spending. That's right. They don't spend recklessly. That's the Democrats that do that. Right? Oh, wait a minute. The big ugly bill begs to differ. Adding just trillions upon trillions to the debt. Oh, you know what? your Medicaid is going to run out. You know what? Your SNAP benefits are going to shrink. You're not going to be able to buy soda. Now they don't want you to buy sugary foods because I guess poor families don't deserve to eat a treat every now and then. Hey, but corporations are getting richer. They're getting bigger tax cuts. Hooray for the top 1%. So what did you vote for? Oh, that's right, to end woke. Woke is on the decline, along with DEI, which is actually a bad thing if DEI is going down. I'm pretty sure there's still a lot of LGBT people roaming the streets. Well, at least they're not gonna trans our kids, right? Oh wait, that was never a thing. That was just political propaganda that you fell for. Well, until next time, that's all the time I have to give you the facts, to give you the numbers. For your reporting, this is Dan Quin. I will send it off back to you, my alter ego. Well, that was enlightening. Thank you very much for that. For correspondent Dan Quin. Anywho, so in the beginning of this podcast, I mentioned that there was people that have told me that they listened to the videos that have kind of cheered me on when, and it always seems to happen when I'm gonna give in and I'm gonna give up or shut this down. So I'm gonna expect now for those people that have told me that to either like or leave a comment. I want to know if it's true that you're listening to something. I'm talking to you, Frank. I'm talking to you, Enoch, that you said you listened to mine. My brother-in-law said he listens to it. I don't believe it. Talking to you, Peter in Tucson. Talking to you, my neighbor. If you're hearing it, si lo estás escuchando, déjame un like o un comentario. From the youth in church, Benji, you said, when am I putting out another video? So I expect you to listen to it and to leave a comment to let me know that you heard this. Didn't Bo tell me that he heard? Not sure. Anyway, I know I said last week that I was going to go scorch earth because I have so much anger and emotion, but now that I sat down here, kind of faded away a bit. So I'll save that angered response for another podcast. So yeah, I want to keep this podcast and not just do politics, just have the political part in the segment of the news with Dan Quin. So if you don't fancy political talk or arguments, you could always skip that part. So if you don't like politics, you don't have an excuse to. That's the reason you wouldn't tune into the podcast anymore. But I've spent more time on social media, posting on social media. My TikTok grew, my Instagram a little bit, not too much, but it's not where I want to go. My next step is to put it on Spotify, giving myself a set schedule. Part of having a successful podcast is having a system. I have a lot more to talk about, mainly the dangers of AI. I think I could do a whole separate segment on that because, man, there's some interesting stuff out there about what might happen, what's supposed to happen, what jobs would be safe in AI. I'll give you a sneak peek. Supposedly, the father of AI said, if you want to be safe in the future from AI taking your job, become a plumber. So we'll see about that. Finally, football season is right around the corner. Can't wait. I don't expect much from the 49ers. McCaffrey's here. I did have a dream that they won the Super Bowl. Very realistic dream. But I do like that they brought back Robert Saleh. So I'm excited just because of that. I don't expect much from them, but I'm just happy football season's here. Some of us have kids or that already Gen Alpha, or some of us have nephews, but are we aware of the term aura farming? What is aura farming? Your aura is like your vibe, right? And farming, when you're farming, comes from gaming. I'm pretty sure when you're collecting, when you're spending dedicating time to grow, to enhance yourself. So aura farming will be you're just catching vibes from everybody, or you're growing your vibes so you can be more, so you have more potential, be a stronger person, be a person of a good vibes, but exponentially growing. So that's a term, and it made me wonder, what are the terms? Are we aware of the terms? Me as an old head, am I aware of the current terms? And actually, I'm not considered an old head. I'm an unk. I guess short for uncle, for someone older. So I went from being an old head to an unk. What about the Riz? Are we gonna have any of y'all skibbity rizzed up the girls yet? Any of those giat? But I think an alpha male now is more like a sigma. You're a sigma, so I should just call myself that, right? Like sigma is a lone wolf archetype, an independent, confident, and cool, often used in contrast to alpha or beta. Well, definitely not beta, so I guess I will be sigma. Is it like I'm sigma or I'm a sigma? Or is there only one sigma and like in the whole world? Or are there a lot of sigmas? You know, like there's like who's the GOAT in basketball? Michael Jordan. GOAT is an acronym for greatest of all time. There should be only one GOAT per each sport, right? So is there like one sigma per what? Every household, every block, every clique? I know I didn't sport the best drip for this episode. You know, I don't want to look sus in doing so. No cap. I didn't want to look sus. But overall, I think with the Infinity Gauntlet, that's my aura right there. I'm farming Infinity Stones. I'm farming Infinity Gems. No cap. And it's bussin'. I'm just trying to use terms that are I'm just trying to use terms that are here. But one term that I do use a lot, because spend a lot of time on social media and in politics, is brain rot. Because I see that a lot, pretty much. Brain rot. People have lost their mind. People are delulu now. And brain rot is when you're consuming too much low quality information that leaves you feeling tired. Or in other senses, it distorts your perception of truth and fiction. And it's like you don't even know what's real or not. You don't even know what to believe. That's how I see brain rot. So as an unk, to you young generation, let's get familiar with those terms, huh? I'm gonna go aura farm, and I'm gonna go sleep. And sleeping is my aura farming, because I'm literally charging my battery again. I'm charging my brain. My heart needs to be at as low as it can, so I could rest, to let my insides, my intestines, take its course, you know, break down the sugar and all that. So that's my aura farming. That's a 40-year-old aura farming, is sleeping. I'm gonna sleep my way to my good vibes, to having aura. In fact, I might have so much aura by the time I wake up that I'm gonna be giving it off. Everywhere I go, everyone's just gonna become like enlightened from all of the aura that I farmed in the night. Of course, when you have sleep apnea, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes I'm doing the opposite of aura farming. What would be the opposite of aura farming? It'll be like negative points. I'll be devolving or dying, or I'll becoming less cool. Probably the more I talk about this and the more I mention the phrase aura farming, I'm probably actually losing points, right? So I think I have to go to sleep so I could farm more strength and energy to go about my day tomorrow. And once you aura farm, once you get there, you're gonna glow up. And once you glow up, you're gonna look smaxing. And when you look smaxing, that's when you know where you want to be at. For me, I'm pretty far away from that. I need to aura farm for like a whole year to get to where I need to be at. To get my max look, my looks maxing, my looks max. However the heck you say that term. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this short episode. Still in the process of getting to where I need to be. I know I've probably said that a lot for you that have heard it, but I hope you enjoyed some of my takes. If you guys say you listen to this podcast and I don't see any interaction, I'm gonna call them some more names just to get the ball rolling here, because that increases the suggestions to somebody. You know, it affects the algorithm. So I need you to help my algorithm out, not my aura, my algorithm, and like this damn video somehow. Okay, I don't want to have to beg, which is what I'm doing. Just like the damn video. So anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time, I will try to bring better content that is inclusive of everybody. Christians to Democrats to Republicans to sports fans, young heads. I mean, what's the term for a young head? If I'm an old head, if I'm an unk, you're a neph for a nephew. If I'm an unk, you're a neph. From nephs to unks. Thanks for stopping by. Till next time. Peace out. Meow. I'm gonna make a meow. Say something. There you go. Meow.